All right, good evening to March 21st, 2021 Delhi Board of Trustees meeting. Tonight, we will begin the meeting with the opening of Pledge of Allegiance and then followed by a moment of silence. Tonight's moment of silence, I'm going to dedicate to all the people down south who have gone through these horrendous tornadoes and everything else that's been going on the past couple of years. Just send blessings that they get enough help and aid to restore their lives again. So if we could please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you, everyone. All right, we can start with the approval of the minutes, please, Mr. Luby.
Motion to approve the minutes from the Board of Trustees regular meeting held on March 10th, 2021.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, motion passes.
Motion to approve the payment of overtime for pay period ending March 9th and March 23rd, 2021.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, motion carries.
Motion to approve bills for payment.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, motion passes. And Mr. Luby, your fiscal officer report, please.
Resolution 2021-31, resolution budgeting revenues and amending appropriations for expenses, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I will second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution?
Okay.
Okay,
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
all those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes, resolution passes.
Resolution 2021-32, resolution authorizing the township administrator to spend greater than $10,000 on behalf of the township, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of the resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution, Mr. Cameron?
Sure. This is, again, your authorization for more than $10,000 on a particular vendor or expense. This has the replacement of our internal storage device, a SAN, S-A-N, and then also engaging with a marketing company. I think Vera Communications is who that would be. So those are the two expenses you see on this resolution.
Okay. I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes, resolution passes.
Significant transactions since the last meeting. We cut a check to Elizabeth Thomas for $154,000 for a closing on Rapid Run. And we have a check to Lebanon Ford for $97,000 for 3 police cruisers. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. We move on to trustee correspondence. Trustee Seavey?
I have 2 items for tonight, both animal related. I'll start with Clearview Lake, which is, there's been a lot of concern and a lot of chatter about the condition of our ducks. In fact, I've been up there inspecting duck life. And I've asked Randy Soupy, our acting parks director, to give us kind of an update about where we are with the ducks at Clearview Lake. They're great to have. We love seeing them there. And so many people are really dedicated to them that, I thought Randy ought to talk about a little bit about our wildlife at Clearview.
Yeah, thank you, trustees. About the ducks and geese and the lake management, we did speak with ODNR, Ohio Department of Natural Resources, and researched a little bit. And we as a township are basically not obligated or responsible for the wildlife on the lake. As harsh as that kind of sounds, it's the animals come and go as they please, and we're not really owners of them. You're not allowed to own any of these animals by law. Our employees are not really trained to take care of the such implements that are coming also. So it's kind of hard to deal with such items coming up. And we also don't want to further aggravate any situation that may arise with these ducks and geese as well. Now, with that being said, unfortunately, we do have a couple of volunteer groups and individuals that we can contact through the ODNR. It's a little contact situation we do. They can assist with any situation that might arise if they're available and at any time and they're able to do so. You can pretty much still contact the Parks Department through our line, and we can get a hold of these people at any time. The number is 451-3300. We'll try to taken care of as soon as possible, and hopefully they can take care of the situation as well. So,
Thanks, Randy. Are we now entering their nesting period, so to speak? I mean, are we going to be seeing ducklings?
yeah, they're all around right now. They're trying to. You'll find them in the lake. You'll find them in all the trees hidden through the park. So they're kind of using all aspects of the park. It's just way of life, natural instincts.
Well, the one thing we also know is that nesting geese are nasty. So don't bother them. Don't try to entice them because they bite. Randy, do we know that now or not?
Yes, well said. Now, we do have signs up as well. I mean, we try to tell people not to feed the geese and animals as well. They do find food around. It just, there's so many people doing it at so many times. It actually hurts the animals more than helps them. So.
Well, we're saying this for your own health and wellness with, walking the lake and seeing the animals. And I guess along with the same idea of your health and your wellness and your safety, I'm going to cover a second animal issue. Recently, we have experienced some bad dog issues. And both on the part of the dog, sometimes on the part of the owner, but I'm going to call them the bad dog issues. Look, it's our objective as your board and as your directors of these departments for the health and the safety of our residents of Delhi Township. So at the same time, we want to respect the owner of the dog. It is their decision, but it's also their obligation to follow the rules about dog ownership. So as a township, we are also obligated to follow the rules, and the rules are set by the state of Ohio, and they're enforced again by the Delhi Township Police Department. So I've asked both our law director, Brian Pacheco, and our chief of police, Jim Howarth, to talk a little bit about the enforcement for bad dog behavior. And bad dog behavior can include barking, howling, aggressive behavior. So uncontrolled dogs. We love the fact that we are a friendly, family, dog-friendly community, and we need to respect each other as dog owners and dog appreciators. So I've asked both of them to chime in on what we can do as a township to control bad dog behavior. Brian, did you want to go first?
Thanks, Cheryl. I appreciate it. So you've stated it absolutely correctly. And in this particular case, the state has preempted the field, meaning the only thing that the township can regulate is the yelping or barking, which the township has done since the early 90s. Other than that, with respect to a dangerous dog or a vicious dog or a dog not on a leash, that's all governed by state code. There's no need for the township to pass additional laws. It's out of the township's jurisdiction anyway, but state laws govern that. And so once there's a complaint, like any other criminal code provision, it is investigated. And then it is, if it's properly supportable as a charge, it's then filed with municipal court or common pleas court, depending if it rises to a felony. and then it's in the court system, and it's out of the trustee's jurisdiction, or it's out of the township's jurisdiction in the sense that the trustees have any ability to deal with it. It's a criminal matter like any other matter. It's handled by investigators, by police, and then prosecutors in the court system. So it's really no different than anything else. So for people, I understand there's been some information out there that the trustees can do more, and they really cannot. One, because they're already doing as much as they can legally, and two, because it's like any other criminal issue that goes before a criminal court. It doesn't go before the trustees to determine somebody's guilt or innocence. It goes to a court of law. And unless you have any other questions, I would now defer to the chief. Thanks, Cheryl.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Trustee Seavey and Brian. Brian pretty much wrapped it up. We do have on our township website, you can see the barking dog resolution. So I'd encourage anybody that's got a neighbor that has a barking dog, kind of causing habitual, to review that. And best case scenario is work it out with your neighbor and talk to your neighbor and just say, hey, our windows are open now, springtime, your dog's barking a lot at nighttime and so forth. If you can't, as you'll notice on the resolution, you can contact the police department anytime. What we'd like to do is we'll notify the owner of the dog and let them know that we received the complaint, at least to give them fair warning instead of automatically throwing a citation on them. So we'll make notification to them in person, let them know the complaint. If it continues on and we get repeated calls from the individual, what we do require is an affidavit from the person that's making the complaint. That's just basically swearing to the fact that this dog's continuing to bark habitually. At that time, we will issue the owner of the dog a citation. The reason for the affidavit is because we will need the individual that signed the affidavit to come to court on our behalf to testify to the fact that it's been occurring. As far as leash laws and confining your dog, same type thing. It's like Brian stated, under the state law is what we follow. If you have a dog that's running loose in your neighborhood, contact us. We will catch the dog or have the SPCA assist in catching it. We will find out who the owner is and we'll investigate. I'm not going to tell you we're going to go out the very first time and issue a citation, because we might take it to the homeowner and the homeowner might not have realized there is a hole in the fence. The homeowner takes care of the fence, the hole in the fence, and the problem doesn't occur anymore. We do have the habitual ones that we know run loose. Residents don't care about it running loose, and we do cite them to court. We observe them ourselves running around loose, so therefore we witnessed it, so we'll go ahead and cite them, and we will testify in court that it was, if they contest the citation.
Well, I think it's important also that I say thank you to all the residents who do abide by these conditions. They control their dogs and they, stop the barking, the howling, and keep a peaceful neighborhood. And I think overall, for the percentage, Jim, we do a pretty good job of controlling them. And I know this is a dog-friendly community. We see them up in the park. And I also want to say thank you for using the doggy bags. I think that we're doing a much better job. I wish we had ducky bags, but we don't. So I want to just say thank you, everyone, to, control your animals, and, we'll all get along and we'll get through this. Jim, do the same rules apply to aggressive behavior? I mean, I know we talked about barking and howling and we talked about uncontrollable, but what about aggressive behavior from an animal?
Yeah, Brian can probably touch a little bit more on that from a legal standpoint, but yes. About 15 years ago, I think the state got rid of the fact that certain dogs are classified as dangerous dogs. If I understand the section in 955 in the revised code, I mean, basically a small beagle or a poodle could be a dangerous dog if it causes harm to another one or a person. So Brian?
Right. So Cheryl, to that point, it's governed by state code. So again, it's not as if the trustees don't care. The trustees very much care. It has to be investigated like state law, like any other state law provision. And again, it's out of the trustees' jurisdiction. So it's investigated like any other crime. But one other point to that, just since you brought it up on the dangerous dog, some folks think, well, a dog bit or a dog did something and therefore that dog ought to be destroyed. It's not that simple. As the chief referred to about 15 years ago, the High Supreme Court recognize that you have a due process right to your dog. And so a state can't just come in, pull your dog or kill your dog, as the case may be. There has to be a due process hearing where a court finds actually that your dog is dangerous as a matter of law. So it is a process. It is a court process. Again, it's already provided for by state law, and it's not within the trustee's jurisdiction. And that's okay. Just like every other crime is not enforced by the trustees. It's investigated by the police, complained about either by a complainant or by witness or officer observation, and then it's filed and taken care of the court system. So it's the system is what it is for any other criminal case, and that's how it works. And it's outside of the trustee's jurisdiction, including whether or not a dog should be destroyed, because there's a due process right for that owner to go through that before it happens in municipal court.
Okay, well, thank you, Brian,
Thank you.
and thank you, Jim, for filling in the blanks on what we can do with happy animals and living in Delhi Township. So thank you very much. And I hope that answers a lot of the questions that I know all of us have been getting about animal behavior. Thanks. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Trustee Davis.
All right. Well, that knocks off 3 of mine. That's good. That was a lot of information. Thank you so much. And I think the residents appreciate that also. And again, obviously keep in mind, we like resolution. We like trying to resolve the things. We don't want them to escalate to that level. So we work together, as Trustee Seavey said. Obviously, the increased air traffic has been, I think all of our bells have been ringing about that. And I'm really glad that tonight Seth Cutter is here to talk about that. So I won't go there. So that's the only correspondence I'll cover for now. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, I have 2 items tonight, more informational than anything else, but FEMA, Jackie, am I slide? Okay. FEMA is going to help pay funeral costs for COVID-19 related deaths. Here's some bullet points. Funeral expenses had to occur January 20 of 2020. So last January and after. Payment or information regarding this is going to begin in April of this year. So next month, it's not up yet. The information's not up yet. The ability to apply for multiple deceased individuals. If you've lost a couple family members, you can make multiple applications on the same application. Death has to have occurred in the United States. They're going to cover up to $9,000 for a full-blown funeral, up to. It's not $9,000 no matter if you didn't spend that, okay? And a maximum of $35,500 per application maximum. So it covers funeral services and interment or cremations. So they're going to establish a call center with a dedicated 800 line to call, and they'll have over 5,000 call takers to field the issues regarding this. And they can give you all the details when you call that number when it's released. I think it's a wonderful program. We do have the information that was given to us by FEMA on our website. So if you have a concern or you have more questions, and they have contact information, but again, please wait till after the first week of April when all of this will be kind of kicking off. So bless all of you who've lost somebody to this horrible virus. Second one is Procter & Gamble and Pampers are starting a new program, and they're calling it Love the Change. They're donating baby changing tables to businesses and organizations to use in the men's room. More fathers are becoming involved in changing their children, taking care of their children, having their children, not able to go into the changing table that might be only in a woman's room. There is no cost to the business. They're going to donate these. They're being donated by Procter & Gamble through Koala Care. So the contact information, if you would like one for your organization or your business, is to contact Bobby Dillon at dillon.bn@pg.com. And in the title, they want you to put Love the Change in the title of your email when you contact Bobby. So you need to provide your contact name, the organization name, and a contact phone number. An email if the person who is going to be the recipient of this, that person's email, so they can communicate with them. The address for the delivery and the number of changing tables that you will need. Again, It's for small businesses and organizations. I was talking to the Mountain and somebody said, wow, we could use those over here too. So that's what we're talking about, that kind of organization. So again, they're being sent directly to you from Koala Care. So if you have the need, take care of our little ones and accommodate the fathers who are like, where do I go now? So 2 wonderful pieces of news for everybody, I think. Okay, again, that will be on our website also if you have any questions. Appreciate it. All right, so tonight we do have a special presentation and it's about the CVG Airport and we have Seth Cutter. So Seth, we're gonna roll it over to you and I understand you have a slide presentation that you're gonna be going through for us, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, so whenever you're ready to share.
All right, well, I'll click some buttons and hope they work. This has been
Okay.
our life for a year, but you know, I'll start out, Trustee Sturts, and thank all of the trustees and Jack and the whole team here, if I can get things to work, for having me tonight. I know, you know, folks have noticed probably some changes, as Trustee Davis had mentioned, right? That we've got some projects going on over here at CVG despite kind of the pandemic. So I wanted to, you know, take some time and update you all on what is happening. So I'm going to try to run through this quickly, and really at any point, trustees, if there are questions or, you know, if folks have asked you all questions, feel free to chime in with that and we can get through this. And then of course, all the materials we can share with you. And then I'll point folks who may be listening in tonight to our website where they can find additional information as well. So in terms of the airport CVG, obviously, and it looks like maybe I'm not.
You're not sharing, right?
Yeah, because I never clicked the button. How about that? Thank you. Sorry about that. All right, let's try it again. Trying to navigate a few different screens here. All right, hopefully we can see this here now, but we're gonna just skip here through. Obviously, folks know, if anyone listening in, trustees, you and family members and friends have traveled, it's a whole different ball game since the last time we spoke, and really since about a year ago this month, where our numbers just kind of plummeted on the passenger side in March of 2020, and then it's kind of slowly been climbing since our low lows in April. But obviously last year, for all of 2020, we ended the year way down, only about 40% of levels that we had in a normal year for the passenger side of the house. Slowly, airlines are starting to bring routes back. So everybody knows that the vaccine, you know, has been getting out there a little bit more, and folks are starting to come back. Most of those trips and travels are still, you know, visits to family and relatives, leisure travel, etc. Still not seeing a lot of business travel, and that is going to take some number of years to return if we are to believe, you know, what the industry folks and the airlines are saying. But you can kind of see our map that we always show you with where we serve. Despite all that, right, we do have some good things happening really in the next month or two, some new airlines starting. So you might see some different livery flying overhead. Sun Country Airlines starting service to Minneapolis in May. Alaska Airlines starting direct service to Seattle also in May. Key West, we're going to have direct service to Key West on Allegiant, so that's low-cost service down to South Florida, and hopefully folks might want to go there. And then actually, I don't have it here, but just last week, United Airlines announced they're going to start serving 4 new destinations also in May, kind of the summer travel period: Portland, Maine, Pensacola, Florida, Hilton Head Island in South Carolina, and then Charleston, South Carolina. So everybody's kind of adjusting still from this new reality, which is basically that business travel is still really dried up. It's really suffering, but folks are starting to come back on the leisure side of the house. I'm going to skip through this. Obviously, air cargo is hugely important, as everybody knows, hugely important for the economy of our region. CVG is the 7th largest cargo airport in North America. We're really proud of the fact, and I know folks are in the community are as well, because we have a lot of folks throughout Hamilton County that are coming over every day, either through the ferry or driving over every day for work. We've moved in the last 12 months, so not a calendar year, but in the last 12 months, from March of last year to February of this year, we've moved 1.5 million tons of cargo. So that's an all-time record that we've never hit in a 12-month period. And obviously it's good for the economy, and it's been great for the airport as the pandemic has really taken a hit out of, when we look at both passenger and cargo. You can kind of see there in the numbers how it's trended. Again, things were a little soft going into the pandemic, but then since March, it's really just boomed. And I'll show you some photos here, but if you haven't been over, or folks watching haven't been over to the Amazon or to the airport or have seen this, I have some pictures of the progress that's been happening on the Amazon hub. Importantly, right, I think we shared this the last time I spoke with you a few years ago. Amazon announced their project in 2017. Since then, they've been working out of DHL's facility here at the airport. So when DHL is using it in the overnight hours, Amazon kind of comes in and makes use of it during the day, and they're running their operations off the same ramp. Later this year, when the project is, their site here that you're looking at is opened, they'll be shifting over to their own facility, right? So there won't be this onslaught of new activity. It's moving kind of what's already been happening to their own facility, their own space on the airport, and continuing to grow and build from there. So you can see here, this is kind of an aerial view looking northeast, DHL's hub in the distance. And this was, now 2 years ago in June of 19, when they were starting earthwork on the site. And then this was just last summer, and this thing just keeps kind of coming out of the ground and getting built, lots of concrete being poured, etc. So I want to transition here to some of these capital projects and the runway project that we have going on, and hopefully, Trustee Davis and for everybody that's asked, that'll answer some of these questions that you all have been receiving. So obviously, you see where Amazon, where their sites are. You can see our east-west runway there where we're doing the rehab that we'll talk about. But obviously growth is continuing to happen around the airport, which is a good thing. When we look specifically at this runway rehab, so if folks follow the township's social media channels, this was shared a few weeks ago that we've been planning for several years now that the east-west runway, 927, you might hear it referred to, that's its compass heading, but it's our longest runway at 12,000 feet. And it's obviously it's actually the most utilized runway of all our 4 runways, but it's also our preferred nighttime use runway because it's with the east-west orientation. The airport, as you all probably know much better than I, in the 80s and 90s, during the height of the Delta Hub and the building up of the Delta Hub, the airport acquired a lot of land to the west of the airport. And actually here, I'll go back. You can see it here. Can't point well on my screen, but where you see Site 7, for instance, that's off to the west of the airport, and there's a lot of land out there that we had acquired over the years as kind of the preferred nighttime use for overnight operations, obviously particularly important for DHL. But since that's the least populated area, that's why primarily, amongst other reasons, the runway is the nighttime, that runway and that western corridor departures is preferred at nighttime. So back to the runway, right? This runway rehab, because it's used a lot of the time and because it's going to be increasingly important as Amazon continues their growth and DHL is growing, we've had in the works this project to do major rehabilitation on the runway. So it's about a $70 million project. The good news is, I know this may not seem like good news to folks, but it is good news that a project of this size, it's not a total reconstruction, but it is a major rehab. So a lot of, milling up of the runway, the asphalt, the concrete, a lot of lighting work, a lot of other repairs that go into this normally would take about 2 years, right? We worked successfully last year, a little bit the year before with the FAA, and then our cargo partners to condense this into a 1 construction season closure. So the closure's in effect now. I can kind of see it out my window here, but it closed on March 15th, the runway did, and it will be closed for about 6 months in this 1 construction season of 2021. So when you look at the scope of the project, right, there's a lot of repaving that will have to be done, a lot of reuse of concrete, a lot of replacing of equipment like power cables, airfield lights, etc. But that's all going to happen. It's happening now, and it's going to be happening throughout these summer months and then the early fall. Importantly, and this was conveyed and relayed on the township Facebook page, social media sites, we put it out there. We've tried to post this as well in some of the community papers as well. Communities north of and south of the airport, including Delhi Township, are going to notice an increase in aviation activity. And then, of course, what we always talk about, trustees, in aviation noise, including in the overnight hours. The thing to remember, what's so critically important, especially for folks, and we're trying to get the word out with realtors, with home builders, with apartment associations, is that this is temporary, right? This is not, things you may hear that you have not heard before is not a permanent change, right? So if folks hear something in the overnight hours that has woken them up, and we've seen a little bit of this already, obviously noise is subjective, like we always say, it impacts different people differently. So you might have neighbors that it bothers somebody, but it doesn't bother someone else. That's not a permanent change in flight patterns, in airport operations, etc. It's just as a consequence of this construction project. So I'll end our slide deck here, just noting that, of course, the airport continues, and I think since we last spoke, continues to increase our economic impact, which is great for jobs. And obviously, this construction project is hugely important to be able to continue that. But I'm going to transition, if I can hit the right buttons. Don't laugh at me. But I want to transition over to our website, where I want to point folks in the direction of, and I'll click the right buttons now. Hopefully y'all can see this, our website, right? So we do have a page on our website. Folks can go to cvgairport.com/runway-9-27 and see all this information that I'm sharing, right? Kind of the airport airport airfield diagram. What are kind of the project facts, these FAQs, right, that you've been hearing from folks. Why is this happening? What's going on? Who's making decisions about flight patterns, etc., right? And in addition to that, it's linked on this page, but our page that we always we've talked to you trustees and the Delhi community about is cvgairport.com/noise, right? And that's our noise abatement pages. So still in effect, right? There have been a lot of questions about what are the normal patterns and flows? What's this, you've heard about the river corridor, the nighttime procedures, etc. All of that is still in effect. Again, we've noted it here on the pages, but these are temporary impacts because of the construction. And you can kind of, especially for folks who might be moving into town, you know, looking to buy, looking to build this summer, we want to make sure that they know, hey, you know, obviously there are some normal things that happen as is indicated on these diagrams, but there's some temporary things that are in place, I should say temporary things, temporary impacts because of this runway project. The other piece, and I shared this last time, it was new, and I think people have been in the habit now of checking this page and viewing our flight tracking system. But if you go to that page and then you click on this flight tracking button here off to the right-hand side, you can see in near real time what's going on, right? So that's arrivals, departures. You can look back different days. If something woke you up in the middle of the night, you can go and check out what it was and specify date and time. And then from there, if folks want to leave a comment, feedback, complaint, you can do so directly. I can't find it here right now, but you can do so directly in the software program that's free and open to the public. So, and we encourage folks, obviously we have our phone number, the noise abatement phone number is online. There's the normal form, and then we noise report form, and then we do have this flight tracking software. So we're trying to, you know, offer a number of ways for folks to see what's going on, ask questions, learn, etc. But of course, I'm going to try to shut up there because I drone on too long anyway, and answer what specific other questions might be out there.
Okay, thank you, Seth. Excuse me, Trustee Seavey, do you have some
Yeah.
questions, comments?
Yeah, I do. Seth, you mentioned that you have 4 runways. One is being shut down for construction purposes. What about the other runways? Are they getting increased traffic, or are we taking the, you know, the bad end of this, getting more than our share? Because it really, I mean, we don't want to stop economic growth. That's not our purpose here, but we also need to protect the quality of life of the people living in this community. And we can hear these engines starting up before they even take off. So I want to know if this burden of additional noise and flights is being shared by the other runways.
Trustee Seavey, it's a great question. And I think a lot of folks in the township are asking themselves the same thing, right? Or you're hearing that from folks. I know we've talked about it before. I can tell you that as frustrating, as annoying, as mad as people have become, and this is not just like this, the last 2 weeks, right? I know. This is not just a Delhi, something that's impacting you all. I'm going to talk to the city of Florence down here in Kentucky soon, because as I mentioned, it's any communities that are north and south. So let me quickly share my screen again with you, because it's a good question. Hey, what are these other runways, right? So as we mentioned, CVG has 4 runways. If you're looking off here to the left of the screen, you see 3 parallel north-south runways and 1 crosswinds or east-west runway. That's the one here in green, 927. That's the one we're doing the rehab on and that's closed. All of the other runways are north-south runways. So in terms of airport traffic and what we're obliged as the airport operator to keep the airport open per the FAA is you're really limited in terms of directionality, to your point, trustee, of takeoffs, landings, activity, north and south. Now, what I should note is, and this is specified on this page if folks have questions. Oh, I closed past it. So runway closures, right? Impacts of this project. Runway 927 east-west is closed for about 6 months. So this construction season. This runway, the far western runway, which hits parts of the township, right, to the farthest west, that actually is not very often used at all. It's our shortest runway, but that's also closed for the majority of this project too. So essentially, the airport is operating off of two runways. It's our center runway here that's north-south, and the furthest east, right, that's called 18 left, 36 right. And for a time, because the center runway and the east-west runway intersect, there will be a time later this summer where that intersection has to be worked on, and the center runway will be closed too. So essentially, at that point, we will have one runway that's being used for all of this activity. So I'm going to stop sharing there. Hopefully that kind of gets to the question. I mean, it's not a great answer to your point. Everybody north and south, right? The folks in Green Township, Sailor Park, the folks to the south in Florence and in Union, Kentucky are seeing and hearing the same things.
What about the east side?
So good question. Because that runway, that east-west runway is totally closed, folks to the east and the west aren't getting anything right now. Now, to your question, when we finish this project and reopen, runway 927, the east-west runway, will continue to be our preferred nighttime use runway, right? And particularly off to the west of the airport is where a lot of those overnight departures and arrivals will continue.
Okay. All right. And my other question is about control and tracking of the altitude of some of these planes.
Trucks and planes.
Particularly those that you mentioned, the DHLs, the Polars, the freight carriers. I think you and I have talked, you know that I track them on my phone, and I can see that these freight planes, they're low. I mean, I feel like I could wave to the pilot in the pilot seat. So are you talking to them about watching their altitude, or, you know, are they just rough riders over here and they're coming in pretty low? Now, we're all very sensitive to that on this side of town, because we've actually lived through tragedy of planes coming in too low and not making the other side of the river.
Exactly.
So I'm not being flippant with this.
No.
These are low.
Yeah. And Trustee CV, so it's a great question. To your point, it's nothing to laugh about. I laugh because we talked before about being able to wave to the pilots, and I know when I've been over there, it's like, and it's not just cargo, right? It's as Delta has continued to kind of grow back, right? We're actually very glad that Delta is moving away from a lot of the regional jets. From an air service perspective, they've gone to mainline aircraft, which are the like 777s, right, that flies to Paris from here. And to your point, I mean, hello. Now, to your point, safety is always number one. When, and this is detailed on the page, but I think it's worth reminding everybody, right? When air traffic activity is being decided, right? Who's saying what? Who's giving direction? It is always the prerogative and the purview of the FAA control tower to guide, direct, and manage the airspace, right? They maintain the airspace, they maintain the runway activity that direct north, south, east, west, where do they go, at what altitudes, etc. As the trustees and a lot of folks in town know, there are established corridors, the established nighttime use procedures, and minimum, step down procedures that control, Trustee CV, to your question, altitudes, etc. Right? I can tell you that, and that's a nice feature of our, to your point, our flight tracking software. You can see the altitudes. If folks have a specific question or say, oh my gosh, what is this DHL plane doing? It is like right there. You go on your phone on our software here and you see it's whatever X feet altitude, right? You can ask through the system, is this accurate? And we actually get a lot of folks that are doing that, which is good, right? If there is an issue, it's relayed right to the tower or the airline, the appropriate folks. One of the things that I think is tough in dealing with the geography, right, of Delhi Township is you all are naturally more elevated than like a Florence that's more at our our elevation here at the airport to where if it's coming in, if something's landing and it's coming in and it seems like it's low, it probably, more often than not, I know that they're at the correct altitude, but the perception is, and it really looks like it, right, is that it's right there because the altitude, the natural elevation is higher. So it's not a good answer, but to your point, I encourage folks, and you do this, trustee, right? I encourage them to go to this flight tracking software, and on those specific ones is, hey, this was your altitude. Is this the right, is this allowed? Is this the right
Right.
thing, et cetera?
All right. Well, Seth, thank you for coming out tonight. I know that, you knew I was going to have questions, but I think Trustee Davis may have a few as well.
You bet. You bet. I'm always glad to do it and talk to anyone because we love our friends in Delhi Township. And I know sometimes it doesn't feel that way based on the activity, but know that, I'm thinking about you often, and other folks here too know that what happens here impacts more than just what happens at the airport.
We appreciate that.
Okay. Trustee Davis?
Yeah. I have so many notes and I'm just kind of checking them off as you go there, Seth. And first of all, I appreciate
Yes,
your
sir.
openness and
You
willing
bet.
to come out and talk. A couple of things that threw me off, and I don't want to belabor any of the points and such. But can you clarify what you said when some of this is finished, that 927 is going to continue even in the late hours?
Yeah. So Trustee Davis, yes, it's a good question. The take-home point for everyone to know, right? And for when folks ask you, trustees, the questions, we still have our 4 runways, and prior to this project, whatever procedures established by the airport, the community, and the FAA control tower that were in place, including what is the preference on nighttime runway use, will continue to be in effect, right? So it has, since I think the early 90s, it has been the runway 927, that east-west runway, that is our preferred nighttime use runway. What folks need to remember, it doesn't mean that always 100% of the time they're taken off to the west, right, where there's very few people and less densely populated. It means that as wind, weather, and other safety conditions allow, that is the preferred corridor that has the least impact to the community. If the tower decides, so for instance, right, if one night it's really windy or rainy, and the only way to safely approach is inbound from the north, right, over Delhi Township, down into CVG, then that safety, wind, weather always takes precedence. But yes, to your question, east-west is still the preferred nighttime use runway.
Okay. You made a point, and it was a quick on your slide, and it shot by, and I don't mean this in any funny way at all, but it's great. It says a $6.8 billion economic impact, and Delhi gains by that. How?
So that's a good question, trustee. I can pull, actually, I should have done this, but I can pull the numbers. We just updated our badge holder report. What we base those numbers off of, and I don't have the detail on the slide, but actually I'll make a note and send it to Jack and make sure you all get it. We base those numbers, like that 6.8 billion is our annual economic impact. So when you look at the jobs created and supported by the airport, the tourism spending for folks coming through that come to the region and do visitor spending, and the other indirect economic activity that's generated by the airport, that's where that number comes from. So that's inclusive of, right, how many folks from the township work at CVG. We can identify by zip code how many work here, and the amount of sales tax paid in Ohio, or to Ohio, and the income taxes, right? So I can get that level of detail to you, but there's significant tax revenue that's supported in both Kentucky and Ohio from the jobs and economic activity. Trustee Seavey, to your point is, we're a regional economic asset. Everybody shares in both the benefits, the economic benefits, and in this case, noise nuisance.
It'd be interesting to see how many Delhi residents actually work at the airport. Maybe
I
we'll
will get that number to you,
eventually.
sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying it to be funny or to hammer. I'm just curious.
No, exactly.
There's
It's a
a lot of
great question.
yeah. There's a lot of information here, and West Side's a very tight community. Delhi's an even tighter community, being landlocked between the river, downtown, and Western Hills has everything. So when something happens here, it either happened to your friend or to your family member. So you can imagine how word spreads and people talk. And it's funny, we're talking about how low the planes can fly. I work over at Bailey, right there at Sisters Hill there, and so yeah, they do fly low, but there's ways to check that and verify that. So I appreciated your
Yes, sir.
your thoughts on that, and I certainly encourage Jack, if we can, make sure that their website, their complaint hotline is all over our website, if you would, so that they know exactly who to talk with. And it sounds like, Seth, you guys are open to that. If there's
Yes.
complaints or if there's questions, get the app also. You can see what the flight is, how, what their height was, everything, the noise, everything that's going on. And I understand your bottom line is that this is temporary, folks. 6 months, it's temporary. I hope you're right. I hope you're absolutely right. I know there's always delays and things like that, but I think we have what's the word for it? We have a nice community, a decent community that gets it as long as they are communicated with and they understand what's going on. So I appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
As I said, you had a lot of information to pass on tonight. So I hope those that are watching at home rewind the Facebook and you can watch it again, because I'm sure there's lots of questions that were answered, but it might have also opened up other questions. So thank you again, Mr. Cutter. We really appreciate you being here.
No, thank you, trustee. Always glad if there are more questions, and I'll follow up with Jack and y'all to get that info.
Great. And I'm going to go back to the height. When you talk about us being elevated higher than the airport, so when it's the correct height, are they basing that on our height or on the airport height? Because the complaints that I've heard is the noise is so bad. It's rattling their windows. It's shaking things on their walls. I mean, vases are vibrating in their house. So that doesn't seem correct. So when they're over Delhi, are they using whatever height they're supposed to be using because they're over Delhi and then progress down after they cross over Delhi? What's the correct height?
So trustee Sturts, that's a great follow-up question to this altitude question, right? And I'm very sorry to hear if folks are, because I'm dealing with it in my neighborhood in Newport at the moment. I live by the railroad, and then evidently River Metals Recycling is blowing cars up. So I never hear the end of it about the shaking and the whatnot. So I understand it. And if folks are experiencing that, we want to trustee Davis's point, we want to look into it, educate people, help understand. I will double check and get back to you all, but my understanding is that the altitudes, right, the heights on an approach path are based on the elevation of the field, right? The field in this case being CVG. What obviously, in a flight path, if there are certain restrictions per the FAA about where, at what points things are descending, right? To my knowledge, the only restrictions, right, that the FAA has are when it gets really close. Well, drones, UAS, that's a big thing. And if folks in the community have questions about drones, we have a whole page on our website about drones, UAS. That's a different issue. But to your point, it's based off of like when you get close into the airport, what's in a runway protection zone and what are other obstructions that may be in the flight path. Otherwise, right, the descent altitudes and everything is based on the field, right, because they're coming into the runway here and they're basing off the height. So if the height, the natural elevation, right, of Delhi, as long as there's clearance, right, it's that frustrating piece that it's, I'm trying to figure out how to say this. It's basically, it goes back to whatever the height of the aircraft in relation to the landing is in approach. So I'll come up with I shouldn't say come up with. I'll find a more exact answer, especially because I know that question comes up. Trustee
Oh, yeah.
Stevie, we've talked about it before, and I'll get back to you too.
I appreciate that. Thank you
Yes,
so much. Any more questions? All right, Seth, thank you so much.
Thank
Lot-
you
like I
all.
said,
Sorry to
lots
be
of,
so long.
information, but thank you for the follow-up. We'll be looking forward to all of that.
You bet.
All right, have a good evening. Thank you. Okay, well, it is the second meeting of the month, so we will have a review from each department head after we do whatever business, formal business we have for their department. So, okay, Mr. Luby.
Motion to approve the hiring of Whitney Esterkamp as career firefighter EMT in fire department at the rate per the collective bargaining agreement with the IAFF Local 3389 upon successful completion of the pre-employment physical, drug screen, and background check effective April 1st, 2021.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, motion carries.
Motion to approve the hiring of Haley Dannemiller as career firefighter EMT in the fire department at the rate per the collective bargaining agreement with the IAFF Local 3389 upon a successful completion of the pre-employment physical, drug screen, and background check effective April 1st, 2021.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, motion carries. Chief Campbell, you want to talk to us about our new hires?
Yes, I know two excited firefighters that are going to be happy to hear the news. As you guys are aware, December we did put out a eligibility hiring process. We expecting some departures in 2021. So we went through that process, and when an opportunity comes along and you've got really great candidates in front of you, I think certainly what's in the best interest of the township and certainly the service that we provide in the community is you grab them when you can. And so I think both Whitney and Haley represent very good candidates for this community. I think looking at first and foremost what their ability to serve a long period of time here and really take care of our residents. You know, Whitney, she started out as an explorer with Delhi, and we all know how important that is. Born and raised here in Delhi. She joined part-time in 2017. She served 7 years with the Ohio Army National Guard. She is in paramedic school and expected to graduate and obtain her certification here in May. So just right around the corner. So even though we're hiring them as EMTs, certainly our expectation is to use their service as a paramedic. Haley also comes by way of the West Side. She is a resident of Miami Township. After completing college at Wittenberg, she completed her fire training at Great Oaks, completing that in 2019. And she also is in paramedic school and set to complete her training in May. So we're excited to, they're certainly excited for the opportunity. We're excited to have them on board and absolutely think that they're gonna fit that right piece of the puzzle to help our community.
Any question, Trustee Seavey?
No, congratulations on two great hires. We're thrilled to welcome them to the Delhi Township Fire Department.
Trustee Davis?
No, I agree 100%. When I saw this come through, I was so thrilled. I'm thrilled for them. I'm thrilled for the township. I hope they absolutely fall in love with Delhi and just working here and just being part of the Delhi family that they're here for a long, long time. Awesome job, Chief, and for these two. Wonderful. Thank you for saying yes to being here.
Right. Same here. Welcome, Whitney and Haley. Looking forward to meeting you and hope that you enjoy your time here with us. So good job, Chief. So you have a little report for us tonight?
Yes, so kind of building on what we discussed in January, just kind of a breakdown. Again, our community risk reduction program is in full swing. We are out there doing business inspections, ensuring the safety of our residents and those conducting business. One of the CARES consultations, we're at 51. We've been averaging about 50 a month. So if you kind of figure on the number of falls that we have, contacting and reaching out to each one of those folks has been important. I think a way to illustrate the effectiveness of this program is we had two really good cases in February. Our social worker, Bobby Honnert, was able to go out and sit down with the residents. Both of them were multiple fall victims. And one way they were able to alleviate an electrolyte imbalance problem and encourage her to use her walker. And I mean, you go from falling 3 times a day and requiring 911 to pick you up to she hasn't called back since. So close the deal. We're available for more emergent details. And these are truly preventable. And Bobby's finding that out going into these homes. The other patient was moved off to through elder care, and she was helped into assisted living. So again, this is an important part of our program. Not much in the way of our CPR classes, 3 car seat inspections, and we did have 4 parades. They are continuing strong as we go along and celebrate people's birthdays and things like that in the township. We have an unusually slow February and compared to years past, just 2 fires, had around 200 medical calls. And one thing that's kind of notable there is with less fires, we have less loss, and the average response time is just as strong at 5 minutes, just over 5 minutes. So time of call to the time we arrive there on the scene. You have any questions for me?
Trustee Seavey?
No, Chief. I think, I'm super appreciative of what you and Bobby are doing to help us with the We Thrive community, because that really is an outreach for the health and wellness and safety of everyone. So thanks for all those efforts, and just keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Trustee Davis?
Oh, good. Thank you, Chief, for your presentation.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. And so everybody knows the numbers he presented was February's, because we're always a month behind when we do these. So just so you're aware. All right. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to Parks and Recreation.
Resolution 2021-33, resolution entering into a contract with Logan Creek LLC for the Delhi Park Playground and equipment at Delhi Park, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution, Mr. Subi?
Yeah, I could give a little info on it. We did have a winning bidder on the playground project. It was Logan Creek. Won the bid for around $395,000 for install. We did, as you know, bought the equipment last year on a better pricing. So that ended up around $250,000 for the equipment. For the play surface coming up as around $118,000 for Forever Lawn. And as the parks part of it, the department part, we have about $30,000 to $40,000 to use to upgrade our restroom facility and shelter up there, so it has a good facelift when it comes along as well. So, and the funding, we're going to move money around, and this is what it's for from state and county funding and TIF and park funds.
Wonderful. Any comments, Trustee Seavey?
Randy, what's the update on the restrooms being open now for the season? I mean, the parks are pretty busy right now, and I know I get a couple questions about, well, could we at least get a porta potty or something in there while our regular restrooms are closed? What's the timing on opening these restrooms or either getting some porta potties?
It is very, very close. We are usually right at the beginning of April, so the end of this week, beginning of next week. That's also part of the incentive here to do where the new playground's going to be. We're hoping to put a furnace, like a little heater in the restroom for an upgrade, and we can possibly keep one of the restrooms open through the winter time to accept, when the playtime's coming, because we've been running into nicer weather about a month or two early. We have to blow all the water lines out, so we can't have any access to the restroom. So when that's open, it'll be a nice feature for everybody to come and play on nice days. We're not stuck behind the ball then. So, and the same token for portalettes, the only issue now is because of COVID regulations, we don't have water to clean as much. So usually there is a portalette in the park, but this year and occasion is not the case.
Okay. And of course, thanks for the help with the ducks.
Yeah, no problem.
Trustee Davis?
No, thank you so much for that. The Delhi Park is obviously, as it's been determined, as we know, it's one of the jewels in the township, one of the main jewels in the township. And people that might be watching or listening might have just heard you go through that. But you add up those numbers, that's close to right around $800,000, thanks to grants and state, county funding, TIF, you name it, in order for this transformation. In my opinion, transformation of Delhi Park and what has gone into that, and the blood, sweat, and tears that's been poured into it, trying to keep it nice. And the residents of Delhi, and we've all talked about it, they deserve it. They deserve it. Some people say, oh, nothing ever changes, nothing ever. This is a change. It's going to be awesome. You add that into the park, you add what we're doing at the Remke site, folks, I'm telling you what, the next couple of years, it really is going to be something. So just sit back and enjoy it. Enjoy the as we say, the transformation, if you would. Thank you so much for that. And even more, thank you. And it's such a great thing that we're not just doing that little project there, but we're going to make the surrounding, the aesthetics around that actually look nice. So that whole area is going to be really, really well done. And when you get those pickleball courts really fired up, people want, I know we got the courts are lined out there, people. They're lined for pickleball. You want to play pickleball, come up to the park, you can play. And maybe that'll be the next project with some real nice official pickleball courts up there. And there you go. So thank you so much for your hard work and your team, and keep on keeping on.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Soupy, I mean, can we talk a little bit about timing? Okay, so we have all this money, we have the equipment, we've identified a vendor, but because it's a very specialized project, you're going to use so many companies, right, to even do the install and so on and so forth. So we're on their schedule. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit? Because I think everybody's going to expect Memorial Day, this thing to be done.
Yeah, the only downfall is that the Logan Creek is the landscape structure installer. They are on a time frame crunch, and I believe their starting day is around May, depending on that time frame. So we'll miss that date. An approximate completion date is around 75 to 90 days after that. So it's going to take a little time to get everything accessed, everything put in. So they are going to miss that, that timing frame. But once it's all done, like Trustee Davis said, it's going to be amazing structure, and we'll have to get through that part of the time.
Okay, so public 75 to 90 days from the start. And what's beautiful is Randy is making sure the bathrooms are upgraded so that we don't conflict with the structure and everything going on with the building of the playground. So it's all a timing thing. You're going to get it. We're going to have the heaters in the bathroom, so it's going to be an all-season area. So please, again, patience seems to be the theme tonight. So patience for that. Okay, give us a little report, Randy. Anything going on other than that and ducks?
Yeah, over the past month here, we've had a few calls on the ducks, but we've also had Hamilton County Public Health been dealing with. We've had a few of the vaccine coordinations, shot sites. So they've been at the Lodge and Senior Community Center.
Right.
I believe we have around 200 shots each individual time. So we've had them 3 or 4 times now. We have a couple more set up for the next month or so also.
Yeah.
Everybody seems to be getting through and pretty decent times. Just keep calling and try to set your vaccine times. The good news is we are starting to get back to regular stuff. We had already previously put a few limited tables this year. We're going to start renting the shelters again. We are going to keep spacing, so the amount of tables is reduced. You can when you call to reserve a table, there is a sheet to sign, and we will have the accurate table counts for people so they know how many they can use.
Good. Okay, Mr. Super, I'm going to stop you there because we didn't finish the resolution.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry about that. My bad. I was just so excited about everything going on in the park. So let's continue with the resolution. Trustee Seavey, sorry.
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I don't even know what the resolution. No, I'm just kidding. I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Libby, please call the roll.
Seavey,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes, resolution passes. This is what makes us human. Okay, Mr. Soupy. And then we have a hiring motion.
You want to get through with that too? That's fine.
Yeah, let's get the hiring motion done.
Motion to approve the rehiring of Louis J. Nye Jr., a seasonal Parks and Recreation worker in the Parks and Recreation Department at a pay rate of $9.27 per hour, effective April 1st, 2021, and contingent upon successful completion of drug testing.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Motion passes. Okay, you may proceed with the rest of the good news about the
I seen,
parks.
I seen Mr. Cameron pop up. That might have been why.
Yeah, he should have texted me. Okay, go ahead.
So I finished up with the shelter tables, which would be a good option. We're going to start renting them this year again, as a reminder. The summer help, as you noticed, we are starting to come back slowly. We're getting into, busier times here. We did fertilize and weed control the fields and all areas of the park in the past month or so, trying to keep up on some weeds, and hopefully we catch them. It does get overwhelming in the springtime, so. We have been doing maintenance as completed on the equipment, ready for this spring to pop open, and we have like grass cutting, mower blades, weed eaters, etc. We have a bunch of stuff to get ready. We did start mowing already. It kind of hit us. You'll see patches of grass, weeds growing up, so we kind of want to keep it looking better.
Mhm.
We are getting ready for mulching. We got our mulch delivered. We got planting, getting the beds ready. Ball fields are a constant. We're always dragging a line on them every day. Baseball, softball, practices and games. That's always a busy part of the day. Crew has been doing maintenance. We always do previous maintenance on the restrooms to get ready for the openings. So hopefully we got most of it done in the time that we open up restrooms, turn water on. We're really close to opening, besides cleaning them as well. So, and I already went over like with the bids and quotes on that we've been working on in the past month or two with the restroom and shelters. Hopefully we can get on that as soon as possible before intermingling with the crews, starting on the playground. We can get ahead of them and get those scheduled in. So,
Great, thank you.
thank you.
Mrs. Seavey, any questions?
Just one. What's the status of summer concerts in the park?
The summer concerts are, we are tentatively getting a few bands ready as well. We're letting them know it's a tentative schedule. We haven't put anything out yet. I'm still waiting on pretty much orders from DeWine to okay a little more. I've seen that some places have done painted circles in the lawn and possibly giving people circles to stay in as another option. We can put tables down. So we are working on that, events coming up. The ones we do have set are the farmers market. We have the yard sale at the Senior Center Community Center. It runs like the farmers market outside. And we do have a tentative set for Shakespeare in the Park, which I believe can be separated as well. And I really trying to get the Harvest Hootenanny done as well, but there's a lot of people come to that. So we're still trying to get stuff together. Over the past couple weekends, I've seen this downtown and stuff get together, and I don't know, I don't know how this is going. So we're going to try and figure it out.
Thanks,
Just, I
Randy.
would say,
Thanks to your crew also. Thank you.
I would say keep looking on our Facebook, and we'll keep posted as soon as we know.
Perfect. Mr. Davis, Trustee Davis?
No, we're good. Thank you so much.
Okay. Now, Mr. Sippy, if I remember hearing right, we do have already one pickleball court striped. And you're going to stripe the other tennis court,
Yes,
correct?
we're going to strike the other one. The only difference is for us having a combined tennis court and pickleball, I believe the netting for tennis is about 6 inches higher. We haven't had too much issue with it yet, and it's almost impossible to change stuff unless we paint it differently on the court. And I think it will get really confusing with all the lines if we do that.
Sure.
So for a professional pickleball, I think the crews that are coming in are actually liking it so far. We haven't heard too many complaints. So we might keep it with the tennis court nets. If I hear some more complaints, maybe we'll try to figure some other things out.
Okay, we appreciate you, persevering on that. Thank you for
Trustee
your report.
Sturts,
Yes,
Trustee Sturts, if I could enter this in, it'd be nice if you would. I know you got a lot going on. It'd be interesting to see if we could just price it, what it would be if we wanted to put 2 official pickleball courts up there. So we wouldn't mess with the tennis, because I know tennis is, as I understand it, besides Western Hills Indoor, there's nowhere else you're going to play tennis on this part of the area, because Mount St. Joe does not have theirs anymore, where they would play. A lot of people would play. Ours is there, but that surface that we have, that rubber surface or whatever, is not the best for me, because on that surface when you're playing tennis, it's tough enough. But I can imagine the pickleball, because there is a difference. And I'm saying this because I play both.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it's something that we could do that, because it really is huge. You look at Green Township and these others, they're putting them everywhere because it's a great sport that anybody can play. you know, whether you're 70, 80 years old or 25. And it's a nice thing. I wonder if we could somehow get that and just kind of see what would it be like? What would the price be if we wanted to put something like that in?
I can definitely look at a different area and prices for you.
Yeah, between the lodge and the, you know, the courts itself. I mean, maybe we
Yep.
could have both, and still, again, we're making it family friendly, and I think that would be great. But just a thought, if we could, maybe
Yes,
just
sir.
interesting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stupi. Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
All right. Moving on to the police department. Mr. Luby, please.
Resolution 2021-34, resolution declaring certain police vehicles and equipment no longer needed for public use and authorizing the sale to the Hardin County, Ohio Board of Commissioners, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on the resolution, Chief?
No, this is something that's been ongoing for many years now between Hardin and then the next one, Kenton County. So we've been doing this with them. They buy them sight unseen and we're real happy with it. And we're real happy with them.
All right, thank you.
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
yes,
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes. Resolution passes.
Resolution 2021-35, resolution declaring certain police vehicles and equipment no longer needed for public use and authorizing the sale to the city of Kenton, Ohio, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on the resolution?
Same story, right, Chief?
Yeah.
All right. I
Yep.
move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes, resolution passes. Okay, Chief, what's going on in the police department?
Yeah, I was gonna mention the February statistics that we had. As you'll see up on the screen, we had 1,609 incidents, calls for service. That's about 160, 170 less than the month of January. 51 criminal reports we took. We had 69 just for comparison in the prior month, January. The only thing difference really is we had 2 violent crimes in February. We didn't have any in January. Those 2 violent crimes were aggravated assault on 2 different incidents. Going over to auto accidents, we had 32, which is a step up from what we had last year. Last month, we had 23. So last month, we talked about the hit skips. For the 23 accidents, we had 9 hit skips. We actually had more crashes this month and less hit skips. So unfortunately, we did have 1 fatality. We had an auto accident on Bender Road on February 4th. Individual went left to center and hit three kids going to school. No one in the other vehicle was hurt, but the gentleman passed away about 3 to 4 weeks after the accident as a result of the crash. So that's listed through the state of Ohio with a fatality. Naturally, our traffic safety came out because we could tell the injuries were serious at the time. So they came out and investigated that crash. We had 52 criminal reports that were assigned. 4 arrests, still have 5 still active. We had 14 that have been closed, and we had 29 other that are still inactive with nothing to go on at the time. As far as the January statistics, we had 63 criminal reports in January. So naturally, the auto accidents went up. I know early February, the weather wasn't the best, so that contributed to some of the crashes. Fortunately, out of 32, we only had 3 injury crashes, 1 being the fatal. So this next slide is actually not by the month of February, but this is year to date. So if you look at that slide right there, this comes straight from the state of Ohio where we report our crimes. We're still up there in fraud. A lot of that's from people reporting the income tax, or the not income tax, but the
Unemployment.
unemployment, correct. And then larceny is a little behind there, and then we go down to some drugs and narcotic offenses. So this isn't anything unusual. This year, if you look compared to last year at this time, other than the fraud offenses have definitely gone up because of that.
Mhm.
So any other questions? Any questions? Be glad to answer them.
Trustee Seavey?
Yeah, Chief, you mentioned this fatality also took place on Bender Road. It seems that when we suffer a fatality, 9 times out of 10, which we haven't had that many yet, but it's Bender Road. And Bender Road winds and it's dark. Is there anything we can do to get some lights put on Bender Road and stop this horrible fatalities happening on Bender Road?
This fatality,
Morning.
it was during daytime.
Ah,
It was during daytime, and then the other two you're probably referring to were late last year. And I
yeah,
know
the one that
Trustee
went
Davis
over the creek.
right there by, no, not that one. But that time, we don't know what time of day, if that happened nighttime or daytime.
Yeah.
But the one that by Trustee Davis's Bailey Place there, that was a Sunday morning, broad daylight.
No,
I don't think any of these I can compare to, and they've been serious crashes there, but
Okay.
we've had, 3 or 4 other fatalities right before Bender Road, this fatality, that happened on Cleves Warsaw, 2 on Cleves Warsaw, 1 on Devil's Backbone in December, so.
are there dangerous curve signs anywhere? I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that most of our tragic auto accidents are on Bender Road.
Yeah, I mean, coming up the hill, the bend right by Bailey Place, there's been a couple serious ones there. This one I'm talking about was the individual made the right-hand turn from Delhi Pike and just never came back into his lane. So I can't say it was really on a bend. He was making a normal right-hand turn. So over the years, and I'm talking my 28 years, I can remember a few that were there on the bend coming up the hill. We've also had them on the straightaway right by the nursing home going up the hill, Delhi Post-Acute. So, I mean, but we've had them not just on Bender Road, plenty of other places.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Trustee Davis?
No, I concur with what the chief says. And those I remember very clearly because I was actually there. Those are broad daylight, and the one coming up where he ran into the other car right there by the back service entrance to Bailey. That was, again, a distracted driver or impaired driver, whatever you want to call it. And again, but it was broad daylight, and you're right, Chief, on all of that. Cleves, Warsaw, you name it. There are several. We did one, you'd have to do them all, but that one bend as you come up Bender, as you're approaching, getting to Delhi, whatever, that is a tough bend there, but I believe there is some signage there already. But again,
And I will say several that come to my mind, alcohol and or drugs did play a role in it. One serious one we were talking about where the father and his 2 sons were hit head on. We actually just got a conviction on that individual, and he got multiple years in prison, or he is now, for that crash, because there was alcohol, actually drugs involved.
Okay, thank you. No, thank you to the troops, and also, we're very proud of Heather on television, and how she reads to the children from her cruiser. So, good things are happening, and that's wonderful. Thank her for representing us so well.
I will do that. And one other thing I wanted to mention, since we were talking about the park, tomorrow, April 1st, starts the detail. So Officer Stone, Joe Stone, will be in the park. So when people are in the park, introduce yourself. You'll be seeing them a lot.
Great.
There's also one other thank you to Heather, which I being the We Thrive person, I should have put this at the top of the list. But Heather took the initiative and wrote a grant and won 76 bike helmets for us to use for Bike Safety Day. So thank you so much to Heather, and congratulations, and thank you, Delhi Police. I mean, that's fantastic that we'll be able to offer those.
That's wonderful. Okay, thank you, Chief. Have a great
Trustee
evening.
Sturts,
Thank you.
Yes, yes.
one
Yes,
last
Trustee
point
Davis.
for Chief Howarth, if I may.
Yes, sir.
since you brought up Officer Stone's going to be there, the detail starts tomorrow. And again, it's such a give and take on that. I hope the officer or whoever that would be up there gets out of the car, sees people, talks to people, because they love seeing the officers. The officers are, they're ambassadors to the township. So I hope they know that. Don't just stay in the car, get out, say hello, meet and greet people, and you're still doing your job. You're still, keeping an eye out. But I just think that's real crucial, that you're not from a distance, but you're actually with the people. So
No doubt about it. You won't be disappointed. Officer Stone.
Yeah,
great
yeah.
job.
Oh, he is. I agree with that. Very good guy. Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Chief.
Thanks.
All right. Moving on to Public Works, Mr. Luby.
Motion to approve the service level fees for the Hamilton County Storm Water District for 2021.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, motion passes.
Motion to accept the roads in Greenside Estates as township roads, which have been inspected and approved by the Hamilton County Engineer. Greenside Drive with 652.11 lineal feet. Hickory Tree Court, 1,206.35 lineal feet.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, motion passes. Okay, Mr. Ripperger, if you want to explain a little bit about what we just passed in the motion, then give us your update, please.
Okay, let's see, with the stormwater district level recommendation, that's something that's mandated by the EPA. That was forged on us about over 10 years ago. We partnered with Hamilton County Stormwater District along with a lot of other local jurisdictions. The service fees had pretty much stayed the same during that whole time period. I do attend a good amount of the meetings and we do use their services. I think we're pretty
Thank you. And then Greenside Estates, if you can explain to the public what we just accepted.
Okay, it's the new subdivision off of Ebenezer and it backs up to our Hickory subdivision. It's maybe about halfway developed, I guess you would say. There's a lot of activity back there right now. We did a final inspection with Hamilton County. We came up with a punch list. The contractor completed that shortly after. And just kind of a shout out, the builder's been really good to work with. Any problem, and I think zoning would back me up on that. Any problems we had, during this whole time frame, they were good to talk with, and we come up with a resolution to fix it.
So basically what you're saying is you now will do the snow removal and everything for that street. That's what mean accepting it does in lay terms. Okay,
After
thank you.
We'll do all that. We actually have been doing the snow, and then we for it. So it
Okay. All right. And your report for the month?
Oh, okay. Let's see, more construction delays and stuff like that, but I'll try to start out with something that's not such a road delay. Just to touch base again on the Rapid Run voluntary FEMA mitigation project. Currently, let's see, it consists of 24 houses. We've made 19 offers, about 16 accepted, 3 declined, 5 closing as of today. We're pretty excited. We have 3 currently getting appraisals as we speak that kind of just got on board or what have you. That took a little bit of work to get that going. But we just completed all the utility disconnects on the first 4 houses. So demolition will start down there in a couple weeks. That's what it's looking like, but that shouldn't delay traffic much. But everything else I have to talk about probably will.
Okay.
Our road project for the township is in Mount Alverna subdivision. Most of the residents are likely aware of the construction that's coming. There's a lot of markings on the road as of now. Work should start in a couple weeks. On a bright note, that isn't going to delay any traffic. This project is in conjunction with the Floral Paradise paving project. I know I worked with our parks to do some early prep work for that, but that actually won't take long. I can't give you an exact date. The weather's probably changing stuff for the next couple days, but we plan on getting that paved fast, and it should really make it look nice. Another nice addition to the parks. Let's see, we've taken a lot of phone calls, just, you know, people going on vacation, making sure they get the cars out of the street, stuff like that. Moving on to some more summer delays. We've had a couple meetings with Cincinnati Waterworks. They have a project going on off of Mayu, the Leith, Salmon Ridge, and Fair subdivision. That's going to go on for most of summer. And in that same area, Metropolitan Sewer District is replacing a sewer pipe on Mayu. It's about the Leith area coming down the hill to Delhi Pike, and that's actually going to take up a good amount of the summer construction season. No exact dates yet, but keep you posted on that. Some good amount of complaints that we've come in, mostly on county roads, just litter. I know we've talked about this before in the past. The county has really done a pretty good job on picking up a lot of our main streets or complaints that we've had called in. Just yesterday, I think they ran Hillside, and I think we all know that that tends to be a dumping ground, but they got that cleaned up. Let's see, other than that, that's about all I have. I'll have some more construction stuff coming up. Nothing has really broke ground too much yet, but it's going to start.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Seavey, any questions,
Oh,
comments?
thanks, Ron. Everything seems to be, quiet when there's no snow.
Yeah. Well, it's maybe tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That's what they're saying. Trustee Davis?
No.
Okay, so Mr. Rivinger, when you talk about the two projects going on down around Salmon Ridge and Lee's and all that, are they working in tandem, the two?
Most likely, we don't have we've had more meetings with Cincinnati Waterworks than anything. MSD's made us aware and we have a contact point, but we don't have an exact starting date. From what I'm seeing, it's probably going to go on at the same time.
Okay,
So luckily in that area and a lot of our subdivisions, we have alternate routes. So, and the residents are pretty good when they see them working there for a couple of days, they tend to find a different way out of that subdivision, which makes it safer for the workers and, the residents.
perfect. Appreciate it. Well, thank you very much for everything.
Thank you.
All right, good. All right, administration, we don't have any agenda items, but Mr. Cameron, comments, report?
Sure, I can give you quick update. The mixed use project has been quiet as far as out in the public, but that is the way it goes at this point. We're trying to figure out and negotiate arrangements with our apartment operator, and until we get that in hand and finalized, we don't have our financial backing from the private side set. So imagine a duck on a Clearview Lake and its little feet are going underwater. That's what we're doing right now. There's a lot of activity, but you don't see a lot on the surface because it's calm. So it is going on, and as soon as we have something to state and release, we will do that. Happy to answer any questions, but it's just the state of where it's at right now.
Right. Trustee Seavey?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Trustee Davis?
No, and I don't want to hear any more about ducks.
Okay, well, I won't say anything
Jack,
else
why don't
about
you
ducks.
duck out now?
That was a
I
good
had-
analogy, though. It was a good
I had
analogy.
a couple things I wanted to highlight really quick.
Okay,
I'm 2 weeks out from my vaccination, my second vaccination. If you haven't been vaccinated, consider it, please. We are going to do a clinic on the 6th with the Hamilton County, April 6th. So that's this coming Tuesday. That will be put out, and it'll probably be on Township Jack Twitter feed first. So if you're not following me, you should. They have 200 shots they're going to be doing. It fills up very quick. So that's great. We have a lot of people over here wanting to do that. Couple notes, your fire hires, I don't think anybody, other than they were very, very good candidates, which they are 2 female candidates, which nobody really highlighted too much. That's not the norm for the fire service. Females in the fire service are not the norm. They're outstanding candidates, no matter what gender they are, but we're very happy they're wanting to work here because that's something we would like to see more of. So good job, Chief, and everybody in the department for making it accommodating enough and friendly enough for everyone. So that's a good thing. We didn't highlight that very much. Another thing I would point out, the vehicle sales to the city of Kenton and the county at Hardin County, we have a relationship with them, and we cycle 3 cars out each year, and to have them ready to buy them at a pretty decent price, $14,000 a vehicle, is very good. It's just a relationship, and that's nice. We don't have to auction them, get a good price for them. So I don't think we pounded our chests enough about how good that relationship is, and people don't understand how nice it is just to have that there. The last thing on the playground that I would highlight, that's a publicly bid process. We are stuck with bidding it out, lowest responsive bidder, and the timing is what it's going to be. It takes longer when you have grant funding involved. So that was bid earlier this year. It was opened a couple weeks ago, and they're going to be able to start in May. Everybody's busy. We've got the playground equipment sitting there from Landscape Structures, and it's going to be 75 to 90 days. There's a lot of concrete work. They've got to put things in. So it'll be, that July, August timeframe, but Mr. Soupy's going to equip the restroom with some heaters. So what you won't be able to do maybe in May and June on the playground, you can do in October and November and December, because we can keep the water on and you don't have to run home in case you have to use the restroom. So that is all I had for you.
All right. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Moving on to community development, Mr. Luby.
Resolution 2021-36, resolution certifying violation abatement expenses at 3935 Delhi Pike and 4932 Mount Alverno Road to the county auditor for assessment, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
Just move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of the resolution.
Any discussion on the resolution, Mr. DeLong?
Yes, those are 2 properties that we had to abate, unfortunately. 3935 Delhi Pike will have a $675 assessment placed on our property tax, and 4932 Mount Alverno will have a $600 assessment placed on their property tax. This is unfortunately the end result when we have to go in and clean up these nuisance properties.
I move
Okay.
to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes, resolution passes.
Resolution 2021-37, resolution declaring nuisance for accumulated debris at 435 Vaughn Road, declaring an emergency and dispensing with a second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution, Mr. DeLong?
Well, first off, there's probably questions. Where is Vaughn Road?
Yes.
Vaughn Road is actually a paper road. It's only on a map. There's no physical road there. It's actually fronting Rosemont. So where you see Vaughn Road, these are actually properties that front along Rosemont. So you have a couple of those in your packet tonight. I will say, just in the essence of time, all of the nuisance requests that we have in front of you tonight are still in the condition as they are in the photos, and we do request you declare all of them nuisances. If you have any questions, let me know.
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes, resolution passes.
Resolution 2021-38, resolution declaring nuisance for accumulated debris at 447 Vaughn Road, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on the resolution?
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes, resolution passes.
Res-
Mr. DeLong,
Yes.
is this area that, well, that's constantly being used as a dump ground?
Yes, it is.
Okay, all right. So Thank you.
Yep.
Resolution 2021-39, resolution declaring nuisance for accumulated debris at 467 Rosemont Avenue, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
Introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on the resolution?
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes, resolution passes.
Resolution 2021-40, resolution declaring nuisance for accumulated debris at 469 Rosemont Avenue, declaring an emergency and dispensing with a second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on the resolution? Mr. DeLong, seems like that whole path there, like you said, Bond and Rosemont, it's like we're looking at 4 different properties that are just dumping grounds.
That
Okay.
whole strip of roadway up there, and Mr. Rippinger can vouch for it. That is just, it's dark, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind, and unfortunately, people find it a place to dump. Now, we have previously been working with the sheriff's department to get cameras in that area to try to catch some of these illegal dumpers.
Okay, thank you.
Move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes, resolution passes.
Resolution 2021-41, resolution declaring nuisance for accumulated debris at 5311 Delhi Pike, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
Did we remove 040? Or was that the last one we read?
That was the last one.
We
Okay.
just did it.
All right, thank you. I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on the resolution?
No, I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes, resolution passes.
Resolution 2021-42, resolution providing for the removal of a junk motor vehicle at 5819 Faisal Drive, declaring an emergency and dispensing with a second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on the resolution? Mr. DeLong, I think they put it on our Facebook today. What constitutes a junk vehicle, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we've been periodically about 2-3 days a week. We're posting community reminders, and ironically, the day we post them, we get inundated with a lot of calls from the community. They're more of an education tool and just a reminder to the public. And when it comes to junk motor vehicles, our hands are really tied by state law on how we can declare them. They have to be 3 years of age or older, appear to be inoperable. And the toughest one for us is they have to be missing major parts like a transmission, a motor. That's the hard one for us to usually catch. They have to meet all 3, not 2 out of 3. A lot of people like to say 2 out of 3 ain't bad, but in this case, we need 3 out of 3 to make it work for us. So, yeah.
Okay, sound like a song. Thank you.
Yeah.
A meatloaf reference there.
Oh, yeah.
We're fortunate here in Delhi. We have the professor of the class on junk motor vehicles, Mr. DeLong.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I took the class. I think I got a passing grade.
Yeah, you definitely did.
Okay. I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Seavey.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts.
Yes, resolution passes. Okay, Mr. DeLong, what's been going on in your department?
Oh, we have not been busy at all. Oh my goodness, it's been crazy. So what I've got up here, I figured it'd be easier for the public just to see the numbers instead of me reading off the numbers. But we actually, since today is the end of the month, we were able to run. I'm going to run the numbers for the last 2 months every time I do this. But as you can see, our numbers in February and also in March, we have our nuisance complaints filed and zoning complaints filed. You can see the spike. We went from 39 complaints in February to actually 105 already, or for the month of March. And to date, we are at 210. Last year, we were sitting at only 183 at this point. So we are way ahead of last year, and last year was a record-breaking year. And now these numbers only reflect an initial complaint. If we have additional complaints on a property, they do not reflect in these numbers at all. And I can tell you right now, we have one property we've had 3 complaints on. So that number 210 is actually lower than the actual number. Zoning certificates, in February, we had 12. March, we really jumped up. We're at 46. Last year for the month of March, or for the, I should say, well, for the year, this year, we have 69 total. Last year at this point, we're only at 36. So we've almost doubled our number from last year, which is really good. We want people to get their zoning certificates from us. And as you can see in the bottom row, just the escalation of the investment that people have put into their properties so far this year. We're already at 4.3 million. Just to let people know, in 2017, we didn't even break 4 million for the entire year. So we're really on a good trend right now. Last few years, since 2017, we've had some major projects, which really jumped the numbers up. But we haven't had those major projects yet this year, but already sitting at 4.3 million. So that's really good.
Nice.
Yeah. And then the next slide we have is not that one, but is this one. We want to welcome 2 new businesses, Shop Charbon, which will be opening in the month of April over here in the Rapid Run Plaza. They don't have a date specified yet. They're still working on getting the shop ready. It's a women's boutique, and it looks like they have some pretty purses and things. And then you also have Holmes Blacktop and Concrete, which has opened up at the old PNC location up on Cleves Warsaw Pike. So we want to welcome them to the community. And just some community updates. Greenside Estates, as Mr. Rippinger stated earlier, during the dedication of the streets, we're halfway through it, and we are pretty much halfway through it. We have just issued our 15th permit, so there's only 16 buildable lots left in that development. The Garden Grove condominiums over on Covedale, we've issued our first permit for the first building. We have been getting a lot of phone calls from residents very upset about the number of trees that have been removed from the property. That is the property owner's right, but they do have an extensive landscaping plan that they will be putting in place as the construction continues. So it will be a very nice product when all is said and done. Got to give a little shout out to Mr. Luby with his project over there on Ebenezer Road. It's really coming along quite well. Mr. Luby, do you have an estimated completion date you'd like to share with everyone?
Shooting for the end of May.
There you go. So we really appreciate that investment on that beautiful building that's going to be up on Ebenezer Road. The Blue Root Car Wash is planned to go by Fifth Third Bank. They are a little delayed right now. We are expecting that to hopefully break ground in the next few months. LaRose is on Delhi Pike. We've issued our zoning certificate for a new build down there. They will keep the existing restaurant open for carryout. So during the construction, so when you do order from down there during the construction, just please be very careful and follow the rules that they have in place. Skyline Chili, they're about a week out from completion of the dining room, and then they'll be transferring over and closing the drive-through down, and while they relocate that and finish that project, but that should be wrapping up here by early May. Delhi Town Center, Bearcat Storage is still under construction, and Crondeloos is now in their new location. They have, you can see them out front now, front and center. So it's great to have them out front in their new location, which is probably going to better serve them and serve the public. Clean Sweep Car Wash, they're still going through the review process at the county. The former Central Hardware building, demolition permits are being modified right now from our understanding. So we're hoping that project will kick off here soon this year. And then we will be announcing here, there is a 5G Verizon project that is going to be starting in June. They have 5 locations for the first phase. They have just submitted an additional 10 applications. We're going through those right now. Those will be, that project, or portion of the project will occur later this year. Just so the public is aware, this first phase, when they do put these poles in, they're actually going to be removing existing Duke poles on the street, putting a new pole back in with the antenna on top. So there's not going to be additional poles in this first 5 phases, or the first phase with the first 5 poles. They're just going to be replacing the poles on the pike, or in the locations. And there are various locations throughout the community with that. We've also started getting some questions recently about fences and pools and what's the rules and stuff like that. Summer is, we're heading into summer, so there's a lot of these questions being asked. These are major expenses for residents that are putting these projects on their property, like many other things. My best advice is don't listen to your friends, don't listen to your family, and please don't post a question on social media to get a response. Please call us at the Department of Community Development. That's why we're here. The rules vary from community to community, and sometimes on social media, while it may be a private room, it may not be a Delhi resident responding. So, and there's also, you have to work with the building department. So it's not just working with us when you put pools in, you also have to work with the building department. So again, call us here at 922-2705. I'm not going to lie to you, the rules are confusing. The state building code actually regulates the construction of pools, which would be what Hamilton County would monitor. We are only into it for the location. So, and also the location and height of the fences. There are certain rules with the building code on diameter of chain link fences when it goes around the building or around a pool. So that is really for the Hamilton County Building Department to answer those questions. So you can always call them at 946-4550. And again, if you have any questions, like I said, we're here to help you. We're here to get you through the process. Stop by here at the fire headquarters or call us at 922-2705. And then there's one other thing I'd like to bring up with the public. With all the projects going on in the community, I have received some complaints from some of the developers where residents are entering construction sites or demolition sites to ask questions. I know there's a lot of curiosity going on, but you're really putting the project at risk with OSHA. You're putting the workers at risk and you're putting yourself at risk. So please, if you have questions about a project, feel free to give us a call here again at 922-2705. And if we don't have the answer for you, we're more than happy to get it for you, because your safety is first and the safety of those workers is also very important to us. So if you have any other questions, let me know.
Trustee Seavey, any questions?
That was a great infomercial, Greg, really.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was.
That was wonderful. And thank you for your really, really dedication to customer service. Everyone appreciates that. Thank you so much.
We're here for the public. I know we don't always hear that from the public, but we're really here to help you out. So.
Right.
Perfect. Trustee Davis?
Yeah, thank you, Greg. It's funny that Cheryl just said that because I was thinking I would love to see that clip right there when people still are asking what's going on Delhi Pike, or some people saying nothing ever changes on the Pike. It's like, are you serious? Millions and millions and millions are being invested up on that Pike. So the next couple of years, as we said, it's just going to be awesome. And you look at all those people are coming out here investing into Delhi for a reason. They're not looking to just throw their money away. I can tell you that. That's why we, as the township, looked up and said also, people say, well, I'm tired of this type of store. I'm tired of that type of store. We can all get that way. Hell, I've been out here for 55 years, my entire life. I've seen the stores. I see what people see and they get frustrated. That's why we bought the property at Remke. That's why we wanted to have a say, because we don't get a say when we don't own the property or the land or anything, the business. So I think it's awesome. Greg, all the department heads, great presentations tonight. I'll tell you what, it makes me proud to live out here in Delhi. Residents, I hope you hear this. I hope you play it over and over. Great things are coming. And I'm just going to say it, and I probably shouldn't say it. I'll tell you what, if you're a property owner out here in the township, don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. I think your property values are only going to go further up, and it's going to be awesome. And it's just great. Like I said, I wish we had the thing we could just fast forward here for the next 18 months, 24 months, but good stuff coming, Delhi. Hang in there and enjoy what you have. Support your local businesses, please.
Right.
That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you. Mr. Dolan, can you just talk about our vacancy rates? I know a lot of people, it's perceptual of what they're seeing.
Very perceptual.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now we're sitting at 14.2%, which is
the average?
That is the average for commercial in the entire township.
But I mean, other areas.
Most areas. When I started here, actually in 2016, in March of 2016, we were over 20%. So it's getting better. And as Mr. Davis said, it's not always what people want, but zoning allows certain things in and we have to allow them in. And the market drives commercial. I mean, we can't force a property owner to bring a certain user in. You know, we're kind of hitting a point right now where it's getting a little more challenging with the space we have left, because a lot of units are either too small or too large. We're kind of missing that 5,000 square foot area, which is what is kind of the bread and butter right now for a lot of commercial users. They don't want the big spaces. So there's a little bit of a challenge. You know, we've got a lot of interest. I have received a couple phone calls today, actually from one was out of Cleveland again. People are looking. So, you know, it's just, we got to try to find locations for them, and hopefully we can.
Good. What's the national average on vacancy?
It's usually around 20 to 20% or a little higher.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, and right now we did a presentation this past week, and people's jaws dropped when I told them our vacancy rate, because a lot of places did not survive COVID as well as we did.
Right.
And, you know, especially the restaurant industry, and we did not lose any restaurants during the COVID, which is really important to us. So as Mr. Davis said, get out and support your local. We appreciated what everyone has done. I know the businesses do too. We're trying to do business promotions right now through our social media too, and that's been really highly received by the businesses. And if a business is out there and they want a promotion on social media, please reach out to me. We're taking them as they come in and getting them out there, and they're getting about 10,000 views, which is really good.
Great. Wonderful. Thank you for all your hard work.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Again, thank you to all the department heads. I hope the residents that are watching appreciate us, informing you of what's going on, so we can waylay some of the rumors that might be out there. But again, all of our department heads are available, and our trustees are available to answer your questions. And so again, I appreciate everything that everybody's done tonight. Public comments would be next, but being virtual, we don't have many of those. None were sent in. And so we have announcement of community events, Mr. Libby.
The Cincinnati Recycling and Reuse Hub, the drive-through drop-off dates are Saturdays, April 10th, April 24th, May 15th, and the 29th. It's from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Location is at 911 Evans Street in Cincinnati, Ohio, 45204. Cost is $10 per vehicle for most items, and some items will require item fees. You can visit their website or call the number for more information. The Delhi Historical Society program, Streets of Delhi, is Monday, April 12th from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. That is on Facebook Live. It was presented by Pete Pritchard, DHS board member and realtor. Please refer to their website for more details. The Township Veterans Association General Meeting is Tuesday, April 13th, 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. And that's at the Lodge, 5125 Foley Road. Please visit their website to learn more about their organization. The Delhi Library Outdoor Story Time is Tuesday and Wednesday mornings in April. 2 sessions from 10:15 to 10:45 and 11 a.m. to 11:30. It's at the library at 5095 Foley Road. Please join Miss Katie or Miss Rose on the front lawn for their stories, music, and more. Weather permitting, if canceled due to weather, there will be a virtual story time at 11 a.m. And you can call 369-6019 for more details. The Delhi Library Virtual Homeschool Book Club is Wednesday, April 21st from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. for ages 8 through 12. The group will discuss the book Wink by Rob Harrell. Call 369-6019 for more information and register at their website. Delhi Library Program Virtual After Hours Book Club is Wednesday, April 21st from 6 to 7 p.m. It is for adults. You can call 469-6019 for this month's book title or register at their online for registration. The We Thrive community event, UC Health Mobile Mammography Ban, is Thursday, May 13th from 8 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. It'll be at the Delhi Lodge at 5125 Foley Road. To schedule a screening, please call 513-584-7465. The Hamilton County Recycling and Solid Waste District has yard trimmings drop-off program. The program is open on Saturdays and Sundays, March 27th through December 5th, from 8:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. The west location is in Green Township, Oakdale Elementary School at 3850 Virginia Court. Be sure to review the guidelines at HamiltonCountyRecycles.org before visiting the site. That's all we have.
Okay, thank you. I have been personally taking our grandchildren to that story time at the library on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Bring your little ones out. You don't just sit there and read. She has games, she has visuals, you dance, you sing, you do a lot of activities for your little ones, and you usually go home with a little craft. So thank you for the library for doing that bonding. A lot of grandparents are there. Okay, we have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
No further business to be brought before this board. I move we adjourn.
I seconded.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
okay. Our next meeting is Wednesday, April 14th. We will still be virtual. Well, I want to wish everybody a blessed Easter or Passover, whatever you're celebrating this time of year. So thank you for joining us tonight. Have a good one.
Easter.
Happy Easter.